You're watching KSL Sports Live.
Thanks for staying up with us. The Super Bowl 1 week away. We'll preview the big game coming up.
Yeah, we're also talking BYU and Utah football. We'll break down the release of the Big 12 football schedules with the experts. And Ryan Smith wants to bring the NHL to Utah. Does Commissioner Gary Bettman feel the same?
We certainly hope so. But we begin with a rare Sunday home game for the Utah Jazz. A roller coaster season continues. After a 6-game win streak, the Jazz have lost 6 of 8. Including their last 3.
Yeah, trying to end that trend won't be easy. Damian Lillard, Giannis, and the Milwaukee Bucks all in town seeking revenge after that embarrassing loss to the Jazz at home last month.
We'll pick it up in the first quarter. Always great to welcome Damian Lillard back to Utah. The Jazz were led in the first quarter by Colin Sexton. He buries back-to-back three-pointers, gets the crowd into it. He was 3 of 5 from 3 in the first quarter, 11 first-quarter points. Back and forth we go in the first quarter. Keontae George from half court, the alley-oop to Lauri Markkanen. Lauri had 8 first-quarter points. Damian Lillard, though, had an answer. A couple of buckets late in the quarter. The Jazz led 32-26 after 1.
Second quarter started terribly for the Jazz. All the shots were falling for the Bucks. Cameron Payne, 3-ball. A.J. Green's going to hit his second 3 of the quarter, this one from 30 feet. The Bucks start the quarter on a 14-0 run. Jazz were trailing by 12 when John Collins slows the bleeding a bit. The alley-oop cuts the lead to 50-40. Just over a minute to go in the half. Giannis goes down. Didn't look like Colin Sexton got him in the face, but Malik Beasley, he took exception. Body checks Sexton. That starts a little heated exchange on the floor. Double technical fouls called, Beasley and Sexton. Jazz trailed at halftime 63-53.
Well, it didn't happen immediately, but the Jazz did bounce back and found some energy in the third quarter. Keontae George leading the way, getting the crowd fired up with back-to-back threes of his own. Keontae not playing like a rookie tonight. Walker Kessler also having a big impact on defense, blocking the shot by Lillard. One of his 3 blocks. Beautiful. But Dame would have his revenge. Uh-oh. Dunking on Walker before the end of the quarter. The Jazz, though, cut that 19-point lead down to 12 entering the fourth.
All right, how about some fun in the fourth? Some kind of switch flipped, and the Jazz absolutely took over. Down 14. Kelly Olynyk hits his only 3 of the game to cut it to 11. Next time down the floor, Lauri Markkanen, he connects on a 3-pointer from the corner. The lead that was once 19 is now down to 9. And the Jazz get rolling. Jordan Clarkson, great pass to Walker Kessler for the backwards dunk. Jazz within 6. That Clarkson-Kessler connection is cooking. This time the alley-oop. Jazz down 2, 99-97. And Clarkson, he's still leading the comeback. Drives, scoops, and the Bucks lead is gone. It's tied at 99. Moments later, JC in the paint this time, kicks it to the corner. Markkanen for another 3. Jazz go up 104-102. 2 minutes later, a couple youngsters blow the roof off the building.
Rebound, Kessler. Long outlet, Keontae. Keontae to the cup, he dunked it. Keontae George rose to the top floor, rang the bell, and rocked the Casbah. And the crowd popping.
Yeah, and George wasn't done. How about the straightaway 3-pointer? Builds the Jazz lead to 7, then less than 2 to play. Another 3 by George from the corner. The Jazz end the game on a 38-9 run to win by 15.
And that group in the fourth quarter really caught a great rhythm. And for us to come away with a fourth quarter like that against, that level team, it's a good win for us.
Hey, momentum's a real thing, especially at home. I think that when the crowd gets into it and we're all going and just continuing to, push the pace, and it's tough. It's tough to go against that. Even if you score a couple, we just kept rolling and didn't let anything kind of shake or waver us.
George finished the game with 19 points, 10 rebounds. Lauri Markkanen also made 5 3-pointers in this game. He led the Jazz to 21. Collins had a double-double, 15 points, 10 rebounds, and Colin Sexton scored 19 points. The Jazz will be hosting the Thunder on Tuesday.
You're watching KSL Sports Live.
Back to hoops. The Utah women's basketball team gearing up for another run in March, currently projected to be a number 5 seed in the NCAA tournament.
They certainly will be very good. They did wrap up a 4-game Northwest road trip today, trying to come back to Utah with 3 wins in those 4 games. Utah got out to a quick start. They never looked back, taking on Washington State. First bucket of the game, Alyssa Peely to Inez Vieira. She hits that as the shot clock expires. Near the end of the first, it's Vieira again from downtown. Utes are up by 8, 7 seconds left in the half. Peely, the touch layup, giving Utah the 3-point lead. Washington State has a halftime heave. Oh, they beat the buzzer, and the game is all tied at the half.
We go to the second half, and Kennedy McQueen stepping up with a step back. Free ball puts the Utes up 1. They needed that. 2 minutes left in the third. Washington State on an 8-0 run, but Peely's going to end that run with a reverse. Then in the next possession, Peely and 1. Utah takes a 3-point lead. Go to the fourth quarter, and Izzy Palmer showing off the handles. Up and under for the layup. There you go. 5 Utes scored in double figures, led by Alyssa Peely's 15.7 rebounds. Jenna Johnson, 13 points, 8 rebounds. Izzy Palmer at 14 off the bench in a 73-61 win. Utah's back home on Friday against 18th-ranked Oregon State. Pac-12 play is tough. Speaking of more Pac-12 women's hoops, a top 10 matchup between 7th-ranked UCLA and 4th-ranked Stanford. Surprisingly, one-sided in favor of the Cardinal. Cameron Brink with a monster individual performance, 19 points, 19 rebounds. That to go with 7 blocks. She only missed 2 shots in the game. Stanford rolls by 20. And freshman sensation Juju Watkins of USC, just 2 days after dropping 51 points on that Stanford team in a win, followed that up with 29 points, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks, leading the 15th-ranked Trojans to a 10-point win over Cal on the road.
The Utah Jazz completed the regular season sweep of the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday thanks to the fourth quarter spark provided by the 16th overall pick in the draft, Keontae George. Now, the rookie is in a stretch where he's been playing the best basketball of his young NBA career so far. On Sunday against the Bucks, George played 25 minutes off the bench, making 7 of 13 shots, 5 of those makes from three-point range. He scored a bench-high 19 points, pulled down a career-high 10 rebounds. Over the past 4 games, George is averaging 16.5 points per game, shooting 53% from the field, 40% from three-point range, and 89% at the free throw line. He's playing his way through that rookie wall.
I feel like, these next 2 months are kind of the months where people can drop off, feel tired. But, I'm trying to test myself, see if I can, push through, the fatigue.
Keontae's a very talented player. He also has never played point guard. And so this is, not only are you a rookie in the NBA, but you're a rookie in the NBA playing a new position. And given where he is in his career, I'm just proud of how he's sticking with it, even though he's had some tough moments.
Let's hop in the time machine, the KSL Sports Archive. Here's something interesting. On this day 40 years ago, the Utah Jazz also hosted the Milwaukee Bucks. They didn't win that game by 15 points, but 14 points. Adrian Dantley led the Jazz with 36 points. Darrell Griffith with the hammer. He had 26 points. Ricky Green, the assist, he had 14 points and 13 assists. Look at the Rich Kelly outlet pass to Adrian Dantley. The Jazz were fun to watch in 1984. They won 116 to 102. Off the back line with another touchdown.
Are you ready for this? Ready to take chances? Will you push and break your limits? Are you ready to be a legend? It's time to storm the fortress. It's time to fight on the battlefield.
I am dying to find out what Stevenson Sylvester thinks about the Utes' first Big 12 schedule, Sly. Exciting when this comes out. It's a new world for the Utes.
Yes.
I wanted to get your first overall reaction to the schedule. What did you think when you saw it?
Well, I think great, right? My eyes light up. This is good. You got some warm-up games to guys who haven't played in a while, young guys who haven't played that'll need experience, and then you get straight into Big 12 play. I know we got the 9th or the 10th game is the non-conference game, but it still is a Big 12 game. So a good reason for you to be like, we can definitely dominate this. There should be no questions after the season. We played 10 Big 12 opponents throughout the year. But this is just going to be awesome. You know, start with Southern Utah, and then Baylor comes to our house. We had a good game against them last year. But and then we end the season. You know, we go to BYU, or BYU comes to us, go to Colorado, and go to Orlando the day after Thanksgiving. So that'll be interesting, that flight situation. They have some turkey legs on the flight.
Yeah.
But I just think the schedule just lines up great for us right now. And for me, it's all about, you know, where games are played. Right? Throughout the season, it's very rigorous. One, we have 2 bye weeks.
Yep.
That's huge,
yes,
right? To get some rest multiple times throughout the season. But 2, when you have your inflection of hard games of TCU, Oklahoma State, they're at good points in the season, right? This is still early on in the season where we play Oklahoma State and Arizona, right?
This is interesting, Sly.
Yeah.
You get them with your non-conference schedule. Baylor's a non-conference game this year. These are 2 contenders right out of the gate. That's interesting. Do you think that's good or bad for Utah?
I think that's good. Okay. You're going to get it early in the season.
Yeah.
You know, even this past year, we didn't have too much offense, but we played really well at the beginning of the season, especially defensively.
On defense, yes.
Right? And we made it through those games. They were tough. And so if we can knock this out early while we're still healthy, and this is what I love, is our personnel. We have a great personnel right now to be able to go into stadiums offensively, score a lot of points. I expect Utah to get back to that 40-plus points a game, you know, especially with this schedule, with the firepower that we do have. So I'm very, very excited for this season for Utah.
I think this is what's standing out to a lot of people. BYU, November 9th.
Yes.
That's an odd time for it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Good or bad?
I don't like it, but I understand it right now, right? A lot of people are like, oh, we don't want to compete with rivalry week with this and that. I'm like, no, Utah sets the stage. This Utah-BYU game needs to be one of the top rivalry games that are out there. So you put that at rivalry week and you make it happen. But as we're reigniting this rivalry, I think this year, BYU fans, Utah fans need to make this game epic, right? As far as the quality of the game, Kalani down there, the excitement of the game, we're renewing this rivalry. We're back in the same conference. So we have to make that happen, and we get that. So next year, it'll be during rivalry week and be great. So I love it. We're coming off a bye week. I think BYU has a bye week just before that, so there should be no excuses going into that game. But I just think that it's at a good time right before the end of the season. We get started, and you know, Utah gets another win against BYU.
There you go. All right, last thing for you. Look, they're going to slip up at here some point. It's just going to happen. But do you believe this schedule lines up very nicely for them to reach their goals and make a college football playoff?
Yeah, one, I don't see the slip up. The only question for me is I don't know what this UCF game is going to look like. Right? And, you know, because UCF is up and down when they want to be good and when they don't. But I think this lines up perfectly for us to do our thing each and every single week and not worry about it and just let the chips fall where they may. I think we're going to have a great preseason poll to start out with, which is what the other undefeated teams
Top
didn't
15
have.
likely,
right? And so I think with that, I think the schedule aligns for us to handle business, be Big 12 champions our first year in the league.
The Oklahoma State and Arizona games loom large. If the Utes take care of business there, it could be a special season.
Yes,
Sly,
sir.
thanks.
Well, a pair of Utahns and BYU grads, Connor Mantz and Clayton Young, are headed to the Olympics in Paris. This after finishing first and second at the Olympic Marathon Trials on Saturday. The two locked up their spots on Team USA. They become the 5th and 6th BYU runners all time to represent their country in the Olympics in the marathon event. The Olympics coming your way here on KSL 5 in July.
Let's go to the NBA. Suns Wizards on Sunday. Bradley Beal returning to Washington for the first time since the trade to Phoenix. First quarter, the step back 3. Suns up 13. And Bradley Beal was just getting started. We go to the third quarter. Off the inbounds pass, another triple. A few minutes later, Beal's going to take it to the rim. They win big. The Suns do, and Beal drops 43 on his former team.
How about the Heat hosting the Clippers? Second quarter here, Jimmy Butler, the open 3. Clippers are up by 2. In the fourth, though, James Harden with the 4-point play puts LA up 74-72. That starts a big run for LA. Deja vu for Harden. Another 3-pointer and one. 21-6 Clippers run. Clippers get the win, 103-95. What are the key games on BYU's 2024 Big 12 schedule? KSL Sports BYU insider Mitch Harper will tell us. And Does the NHL come to Utah? What does the commissioner, Gary Bettman, think? That's coming up next.
Hour services play of the day. We go to Detroit, where another team took advantage of the lowly Pistons. It was Wendell Carter Jr. and the Orlando Magic's turn. And when you play for the Magic, you have to know a few magic tricks, right? This was certainly quite an illusion. Franz Wagner had 38 points. Magic win by 12.
It's an illusion. All right, I like that. Some future locals in the NFL were playing Saturday at the Senior Bowl, a week of practices culminating in a game, all coached by NFL coaches in hopes of putting a good draft audition together. BYU tackle Kingsley Suamataia was serving up the pancakes in that game. Utah safety Cole Bishop also played and recorded a couple of tackles. Yep, only football can be relevant year-round. We heard us talking a little bit earlier about the Utah football schedule, but now we are talking with KSL Sports BYU insider Mitch Harper. That means one thing. We are now talking about BYU's football schedule, and of course, the Big 12. They know how to stretch this out for a whole year. They released the schedule, and it's obviously a big talking point. So let's talk about what BYU's looking at as this 2024 season approaches. Still a few months away, but what's your first reactions when you see the schedule?
It's a tough schedule, Sam. I mean, this is a schedule for a BYU team that was 5-7 last year, and now they're going to try to navigate this slate with a bunch of teams that played in bowl games. BYU's got their hands full with this schedule, but I think that it's also set up with the home games that they could be a team that could get back to the postseason.
Okay, and then you know that's going to be a big goal, but I think one of the first things that stood out for a lot of fans here in this state was that rivalry date, Mitch, November 9th. Your thoughts?
I loved it. I thought it was unconventional. I thought it was outside the box. That's what the Big 12 needs. This is a league that wants to tell the story of this conference, and what better way to highlight BYU-Utah than with 2 weeks? You know, if you're going to think conventionally and just go put it back on tradition, rivalry week, that doesn't work in the Big 12. To do the traditional doesn't work in this conference. BYU-Utah with 2 weeks, the best rivalry in this conference. BYU and Utah will be great on November 9th. And I think no matter when this game is played, it's always good.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 weeks. They have that bye week the whole week before. So 2 weeks of rivalry talk. You know it's going to be hot here in our state on the KSL Sports Zone, on KSLSports.com, and here on KSL Sports Side. But what other matchups stand out as we're looking at the schedule? Obviously, Utah's going to be one of the first ones, but what else?
September 21st, Kansas State, the Big 12 home opener. BYU hosting Kansas State for the first time since '77, but this is a K-State team that has one of the most consistent programs. Chris Kleiman, head coach. Quarterback Avery Johnson is going to be one of the most dynamite quarterbacks in this conference this year. He's going to be really good. I think that's going to be one of the toughest tests. You look at teams that could maybe contend with Utah and Arizona for the Big 12. K-State's one of those teams.
Okay, so that's obviously the start of Big 12 play. Bowl eligibility, though, that's got to be a goal for BYU this year. Do you think they get there? And if so, at what point in the season does bowl eligibility become a target for BYU?
I think BYU does reach the postseason. It's going to be tough, and I think it might be that last game against Houston. You know, and I think that's one of the reasons the Big 12 put BYU and Houston on the final week, because it's two teams that could be 5-6 in the final week of the season, trying to win or go home. But I think BYU does get back. The defense is going to be so much better this year. Jay Hill did an outstanding job assembling a recruiting class that's the best in this state. I don't think people are giving enough credit to that. BYU is going to be a team that gets back to the postseason. It's going to take a while, but I think that final week they'll punch their ticket.
And that's a home game too, wrapping up the season at LaVell Edwards Stadium. That'll be huge for the Cougars. You're going to have a write-up about your predictions for this Cougar team coming out very soon at KSLSports.com. You can read all of Mitch Harper's BYU content there. You can listen to his podcast there, and of course, KSL Sports, Cougar Sports Saturday.
That's right.
Every Saturday on KSL News Radio as well. Mitch, thanks a lot for your time today.
You bet, Sam.
Oh, that's got me fired up. I cannot wait for college football to come this fall. Right? Getting an NHL team in Utah is far but certain, but certainly picking up steam. 10 days after Smith Entertainment Group formally requested that the NHL initiate an expansion process to bring an NHL franchise to Utah, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman had to field questions about it repeatedly, to the point where he was annoyed about it during NHL All-Star Weekend. There are two issues at hand here. One surrounds the uncertainty of the stadium situation or arena situation with the Arizona Coyotes, who are without a home and currently playing in a 4,600-seat arena at Arizona State University. Many, including NHLPA President Marty Walsh, publicly said this week that the NHL needs to relocate the team next season and would support a move specifically to Utah. Bettman, though, remains committed to keeping the franchise in Arizona, at least saying publicly that he is, but had some interesting comments about Utah and the possibility of expansion.
We're not going into an expansion mode that I can see where we say, okay, you want a team, file an application by this date. But Utah, to Ryan Smith's credit, and the governor giving him an assist, have been very aggressive in telling us they would like us to consider granting them an expansion team. It's something we haven't figured out what to do with. It's a very exciting market and opportunity.
Yeah.
The Winter Olympics are rumored to be going there in 34. It is a winter sport place. We did spend some time there during the Olympics in Salt Lake City, and so we're flattered at all of the interest.
Yeah.
And I think on some basis, it's clear that a place like Salt Lake City would be a very good place for NHL hockey.
Go.
Yes, it would be.
We'll continue on that story. The Utah Grizzlies on the road Sunday in Tulsa, wrapping up a 3-game set. It was a good day for Brandon Cutler. He scored once to open the first period and then got another one here in the second period. The fourth of the game for the Grizzlies. They held on for the 6-4 victory and take 2 of 3 from the Oilers, and now they come home to play Idaho.
All right, almost as excited as I am about the NHL, I am about college basketball. The best it's been in this state in several years. 1 month left in the regular season. Utah State, Utah, and BYU all projected as single-digit seeds. Joe Lunardi's bracketology has the Cougars getting a 5 seed, the Aggies a 6 seed, and the Utes currently with a 9 seed come March. Now, his number 1 overall seed, that's the Purdue Boilermakers. They had a tough road contest against 6th-ranked Wisconsin today. Tyler Wall with the board and the layup. Badgers are within 2. 16 seconds left. Zach Edey with the dunk. Purdue wins 75-69.
Stanford at Arizona. In men's hoops first half, former Ute Pella Larson with the assist. Stanford up 26-21, 4 minutes left in the second half. Omar Ballo with the slam. Arizona gets the win, 82-71.
The BYU women's basketball team played in one of the most historic gyms in college basketball this past week, taking on the Kansas Jayhawks at Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, but it wasn't a Cougar or a Jayhawk that took the spotlight. It was a bat.
Yeah, BYU was keeping it close in the first half when things did get a bit batty. BYU down by 6 in the second quarter. That's when we have a delay in the game. A bat flying around the arena brought the game to a halt. The bat wasn't caught, but it did later fly up to the top of the arena, which allowed the game to resume after a several minutes delay, though.
And this wasn't the first time this has happened. In the past week, actually, 4 days before in San Antonio, where this seems to happen often, the Spurs hosting the Timberwolves, when just 1 minute into the game, a bat swoops in to interrupt things. The Spurs mascot, dressed as Batman, awkwardly enough, came out with a net to capture the bat, and look who was in the crowd. It was Spurs legend, Hall of Famer, Manu Ginobili. Not sure what that has to do with the bat, but hey.
Well, here's what it has to do with
Okay.
the coincidence. Let's take an even further look back. Also in San Antonio, November 2009, a bat interrupting the Spurs game then, and on that day it was Ginobili in uniform, swatting the bat to the floor, picking it up, taking it off the court, and escorting it from the arena.
The greatest block of Manu Ginobili's career. Wow, there have been several instances over the years where an animal has disrupted a sporting event. This was at the Puerto Rico Open in 2014. An iguana on the green trying to take Andrew Lupte's ball on the 16th green. Pretty good putter.
And who can forget this one when Randy Johnson's fastball got the better of this bird at a Diamondback spring training game. March 24, 2001 in Arizona. Johnson's estimated 100-mile-an-hour pitch counted as a no pitch after the bird got in the way.
All right, even here in Utah during a high school football game between Davis and Viewmont back in August of 2019. Oh no, we don't need to see this. A dog got loose on the field and took care of business at the 22-yard line. The dog left the field and the refs had to take care of his mess. Somehow, some way, play would resume. and that dog will now live in infamy.
All right, how about some high school hoops? I think it's a good transition here. The tournament
There's really
begins.
no way to transition out of that. Good night, everybody.
The tournament begins in just 3 more weekends for high school hoops.
Yes, it does, and we're beginning to get a good idea of which teams are real contenders for a state title. Friday night, second-ranked Corner Canyon, they are definitely one. Taking on Riverton Silverwolves in a region matchup. Darrell Desiree with the no-look pass to Isaac Neibauer. A bit later, Desiree with another no-looker to Brody Kozlowski's back. One of his 6 threes. Kozlowski had 27 points, headed to USC after senior year, and Desiree added the exclamation point here. Ooh, this Corner Canyon team is healthy and ready to go. They win big, 69-47.
4th-ranked Harriman was at a packed gym at Mountain Ridge for rivalry night. 3rd quarter, Harriman with the alley-oop to Malcolm Johnson. Harriman had a 40-17 lead. They were also dialed in from downtown. The sophomore, Carlo Mulford, pulls for 3, and he connects. And, you know, it worked once already, so why not another alley-oop up top to Johnson again? He's there to finish. Harriman wins big, 69-47. And the number 1 team in Class 5A, Alta, up against 5th-ranked Highland. 3-star recruit Haxon Johnson had himself a night. Johnson makes this and one alley-oop at the buzzer. And then in the 3rd, Johnson goes up for the slam, finished with 12 points. Highland trying to come back. They weren't able to. Number 1 Alta with the win. We'll be right back.
Should be a fun week. Jazz got some games before the All-Star break. We'll be all over that and much more coming up this week.